Hi, I'm Judy Mudd. Today's video art tip is about the importance of brushstrokes. As artists, especially beginning artists, we start out trying to make the object look just like it is, and we tend to draw tightly and then paint tightly because the drawing actually hinders us from going outside the lines. The importance of brushstrokes is it does give paintings life and energy and action and interest, and it helps a painting say something more than just what's there. And so it's very important that we add brushstrokes, and let me show you some ways to do that. So this is just a typical landscape, country road type of thing, a church on the street, and lots of trees and the road and buildings. And when I have students draw something like this, it'll often look very much like this, where the lines are very rigid, they're very strong, so they're hard to go over as far as adding new paint or lines. And even the greenery, the hills in the back, the trees in the back are painted with rigid lines. And what this does is it prevents us from painting outside the line. And so I always tell people to lighten up on the drawing to somewhat. And also, if you are a person, let me grab an eraser here. If you are a person that tends to draw this way, then go every other half inch and remove some of those lines to help let you get past them. Because you may change your mind in the middle of this painting. You may decide to do something totally different with the shape of these trees back here. Or you may want to add some bushes or something like that in here. So try to prevent this kind of look in your drawing, having these hard edges on buildings. You do, I understand these buildings are straight. You do need to have some hard edges. Let me show you another drawing of one I did, and it'll give you a little bit of an idea of what I'm talking about. Here is another version of that same drawing, and you can see my lines are more broken. They're lighter in general. I have lines, but also have some gaps and some dots that I've added to reinforce an area. I have multiple lines there, so I can really just choose where I want to go. Very loosely drawn windows. They're not rigid like these. They're very loosely drawn, so that they can have some maybe light in them or reflection of the sky or something like that, and I don't have to have really hard edges on it. Even over here on this side, it's very loosely drawn. It's more expressive as far as that goes. So I can go beyond the lines. Now notice also my organic material, the grass. I'm not having a rigid line here. It's almost, just kind of roughed in here. And on trees, I have just a really light broken line so that I can pretty much follow how I want to paint it when I get ready to get started, because I may change my mind. Same way here. So mostly on my organic things, I just barely draw them in. I hardly ever do anything with a hard edge unless there's a specific tree that is part of the interest of the painting that I have to get that look of that tree down. Then I may do that. So having these edges allow me to be loose in my painting and allow me to add some calligraphy in my painting. Notice now this is just for me. I didn't put any of these any of the telephone poles in or electrical poles in because they would be going over the tops of these later. And I just don't need them at this point. Those two, I also want them to be put in with a more irregular look, I should say. And so I'm not going to draw those in, at least not yet. So what this does is allows me, again, to be a little less rigid. I'm going to, even though I have done this, I'm still going to take out some of the lines. Always tell students to take out any line that looks too heavy so that I can come in and paint this like I want to paint it. So even now, I'll show it to you one more time. You can see how loose that is. Okay, so let me get started on the painting. I'll do a little bit of it here for you, starting on the sky. I'm not going to follow the photo because it's just an overcast day with very little color in there, and I want a warm sky. So I'm using some Mars yellow. I like Mars yellow or yellow ochre. Either one of those is good. Kind of gray it down a bit with a little bit of blue. And so I'm just going to lightly put this in. The skies are basically a light sky because my trees are going to be darker. And my trees are going to be the dark that's going to outline the building. So a relatively light sky. Let's go with a little Quinn gold in there too, just to give it another look. We'll go across here. I'll paint around that a little bit just so that the steeple is left white. And it won't matter that I paint over this because this is going to be blue, but this is basically the sky. I'm taking that out. Notice I painted right over the trees, and I'm going to go ahead and put them in. And let's use something, let's use a little bit of cobalt turquoise with a little of the Quinn gold. And when I've mixed these on the palette, I am mixing some separate puddles of color. They're not all the same. It's going to go right over top of the yellow back here. Let's make that a little bit cooler. A little cooler, even some cobalt. Let's put some cobalt back in there just to make that really cool. And I will go around these buildings. Right through here. And that's supposed to be green in here, looks like. I'm putting this in while the sky is still wet so I can get that nice soft look. And that road goes right to there. Notice I'm not being very rigid in my painting. I'm trying to stay loose. And let's see, let's go for a little more color. And let's see here, what can we put? Let's put a little more gold here in the middle, especially at the tips. And stronger paint. Again, I'm not being real rigid. I'm going right over the top of some of these things, some of the building. And let's add some over here. I'm a very intuitive painter, as I let the painting tell me what it needs. And so I'm always watching it to see what needs to be done next. And I'm trying to create this light. So I'm going to lift a little bit of this stuff here in the middle. But I'm trying to create a little bit of light and a little bit of interest, a little bit of mystery going on back here. Doesn't mean I won't change my mind later, but I do want a sense of light coming up through here and then maybe over here somewhere. A little bit of mystery. And then I'll add some other colors once this is dry. I'll add some darker greens and things because I really want this building to stand out. Okay, so I've got that. And let's go with a little bit of road cover here. Let's see, I'll make a grayish color using my blue, cobalt blue, and a little bit of orange. You can make your orange. Okay, let's go with that. Yeah, it looks good. And it's basically light. I'm going to have a yellow line going down the middle. Always step back and look at it to see if I've got the right look going. And I think that's pretty good. All right, lift that out. And let's see, what else can we do? Can't get that yet because of this is being damp. I can't really do that quite yet. I probably can go ahead and put my grasses in though. I've got cool going on back here, so I want warm up front. So I'm going to grab a little bit more of that Mars yellow and see what that looks like here. All right, that's an okay look. Well, it needs to go a little bit warmer though. I'm going to add some Quin Gold to that. A little Quin Gold. Leaving little specks of light, little white dots and things. I'll let a little bit of that run right into the dampness of the road. Remember, we're crossing the lines. We're painting loosely. We want brush strokes to be visible. Okay, I've got some bushes here. They're upright, so they're going to be a little bit darker. Let's see what color I can come up here with. Leaving some white spots there because I do have I think it's a retaining wall, something going along up there. So I'm just loosely, notice if I had drawn those bushes in, I would not be able to do such loose work here. So let me pause this just for a second. I can tell I'm getting ready to be interrupted, so let me pause it. Okay, so this has dried, and I've added a few details to the building. I mean, I've added a rooftop now, and a few things for the windows. And you can see that even the lines that I put in are not rigid and straight. They are expressive brush strokes. And it is more interesting than if I had just filled things in, almost like a coloring book kind of thing. Even this up here, it's purposely not done rigidly or like a flat brush trying to get that line just as straight as it can be. It's a little crooked, and it's far more interesting than if I had tried to really be more of a perfectionist with the painting. So let me go a little bit further with this, and I'll show you how I'm putting some of these things in. There is a little bit darker roof line over here. Make sure you can see okay. Okay. And I don't want it to be too dark here because I'm going to put some darker trees back here. And let's see what else can we put in just as calligraphy. We could just do a couple of lines. Let's change the car color to something in the red. And just trying to really just put a couple lines in to indicate the car. Not trying to be too perfect with it. You know, car's going to have some light shining on it. And let's see, let's just put the roof, and that's will be about it, like that. So I have a little car in here. I'll put some wheels on it. And just some darkening at the base of it. If I see I'm getting too perfect, then I'll smudge it a little bit with my finger. And let's see, we've got some little retaining wall over here. So let's put just a suggestion of something going on over here. Some bricks and stone. Again, I'm not trying to be real perfect with it. It's not nicer looking if I'm not. Has more character. And it looks like there's just something up here. I purposely am trying to get a brush stroke in and not make it look too perfect. Let's do some darkening underneath those bushes. Use a little, it's like burnt umber with a little ultramarine blue, and just some darkened areas down here. Again, the whole idea is to have brush strokes and not be too perfect. There's a lot more interest that way. Let's put some blues, drop some blue in there. Change the shapes of some of these. I'm leaving some light areas and putting in some darker areas. Let's see, what else can we do? Let's put some shading over here on this building on the left. Mixing it on the paper. A little shading on the back of this column that's here. Again, leaving little bits of light. Okay. I think this is actually a sign here, but I'll make it look like something here. There's all kinds of little posts and things going on back here. I'm just going to put a few things in. Can't tell what that is back there. Okay, let's see, what else can we do? There's another retaining wall or brickwork or something going on back here. Let's gray that down a bit. It's too warm. It's too warm, and so it's coming forward too much, so we're graying it down so that it recedes. Okay. Gray door here. And let me show you that brush stroke that I just did for the door. Just side of my brush, side of the round brush, just bring it down. That gives it a little more interesting look than if I had rigidly drawn that in. Same way with this up here. Let's just put some suggestions of something going on up there. Okay, the next thing I need to do so I can gauge everything else, of course there's a yellow line coming down the road. These drives have to be finished. Mailbox has to be finished. But I really need some darks back here so I can gauge everything else to it. And so let's quickly put in some darks. I'm mixing what I have on my palette already with some ultramarine blue and a little bit of quinacridone gold. And I'm not over mixing. Again, let's see, those are still damp a little bit. This has to be dark here, or should be, to make this building stand out, to make the church stand out. I'm going to try to keep this edge clean, so I have a little bit of light on that edge of the building. So I'm painting around it a little bit. Again, brush strokes for energy and action and interest. Let's see, we can change the shape of this. Since I could go over, my lines aren't so strong, I can change the shape of that roof line back there just a little bit more, I think. A little darker. Going around that little bitty mailbox that's way back there. Changing the color just a little bit. I want that to fade off in the back there so that the eye goes down the road. Let's put in even softer back in here. Gives a little mystery. Without those hard edges, you can add mystery to your painting by having a real soft edge. Okay, back up here. Again, I want to leave a little highlight there on the rooftop. Texture on the edges more. And let's copy this over here, or continue this over here, I should say. Just a little bit of rim light. That lost it there. Again, because I don't have those hard edge lines back here, I can ad-lib my tree line. A little more dark. And I think that gives you an idea of where I'm going with this. Keeping the lines loose allowed me to change that. The brush strokes that you see here are interesting, and even here I've added those in. I don't even know what they are. I know there's poles down the street, so it really doesn't matter what they are, as long as they provide some kind of interesting shape. And I can do the same down here. There's something, I don't know what that is down there in the street, but just put a line there. Just adding a simple line like that can make, bring the eye down to wonder what that is going on down there. Doesn't have to be there in reality. The whole purpose of creating art is to create your own vision of things that you see and want to see. I could actually add some more calligraphy here on the side of this building to create a little bit more interest. Instead of having this thing going straight across, then just change it up a little bit. Have things crossing over the windows a little bit. And having those, that little bit of calligraphy type brushstrokes really adds to the overall look of this. Now, even up here on this cross doesn't have to be perfectly done. Just a little brush stroke here and there. I'll post this, I'll try to finish this and post this on my website. And I hope you can see how much livelier a painting can be when you do add some brush strokes that aren't necessarily in the painting itself. Or if you do skip over the lines and change up the look of things instead of just trying to paint exactly how you see it in, say, a photograph, and give it a little mystery going on here with soft edges instead of the hard trees. But that's how important brushstrokes can be in a painting. It can almost be everything in a painting. It can give it the energy that the subject lacks on sight, even if it's just kind of a boring kind of a scene. Adding some calligraphy type lines. There's lots of places yet for me to add lines here and even on the building. And you can add a little jagged line here at the gutter and everything. Even some grasses growing. We can add a few things like that. So it really does give your painting some energy and activity and interest, and creates, maybe in what some people would say an otherwise boring painting, it can actually give it new life. So that's my art tip. Try to add more brush strokes into your paintings, and it should just make them more interesting overall and more fun to paint, actually. Okay, I will see you next time. Join me for a workshop at some point. Take a look at my schedule on my website, judymudd.com. I do have workshops already scheduled for 2016, so I'd love to have you join me. Thanks for watching.